I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I want to get this story out because I honestly don't know what else to do. I've been with my wife, Jessica, for about 5 years now, and up until a few weeks ago, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. We were planning our wedding, got engaged last year, and I really believed she was the one. She was the kind of girl who seemed perfect, smart, beautiful, confident, a little bitchy sometimes, but that's just her attitude. Still, I never doubted her. I trusted her with everything. Looking back, I guess some signs were there, but I was too caught up in the wedding planning and trying to make everything perfect. She'd act a little distant sometimes, dismiss my concerns with a quick, "You're overthinking," or "Relax, Mike," when I'd ask questions about her whereabouts. Little things, you know. She'd get defensive if I asked to see her phone, snap at me if I brought up her late nights out. But I told myself she was just stressed, or maybe I was being paranoid. I mean, I loved her. I wanted to believe everything was fine. Then, a week ago, I started noticing weird stuff. Her phone kept ringing late at night, and she'd hide it quickly if I walked into the room. Her attitude towards me shifted, too, more dismissive, more bitchy. She'd brush me off when I tried to talk to her about our future, like she didn't care. I also found a strange lipstick stain on her shirt that wasn't mine, and she said she'd been out with her girlfriends. Yeah, I believed her at first, but deep down I knew something was off. One night I decided to do some digging. I was suspicious, so I waited until she was asleep and I grabbed her phone. I wasn't snooping because I wanted to invade her privacy. I just wanted some honesty. I looked through her messages, her calls, everything. What I found hit me like a punch in the gut. There were dozens of texts from her, flirty, suggestive stuff, even outright sexting. But that wasn't the worst. I saw messages from her best man, Daniel, my own cousin. I always trusted Daniel. We grew up together, spent holidays together. He was practically family. I saw the messages where they were talking about meeting up secretly late at night, about doing things together, about how they couldn't keep their hands off each other anymore. I saw pictures, naked selfies, flirtatious photos. My stomach turned. I didn't sleep that night. I felt like I was in someone else's nightmare. I kept asking myself, how could my wife, the girl I love, do this to me? How could she cheat with my cousin, and on the eve of our wedding, no less? The betrayal cut deep. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. I felt humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. I trusted Jessica, and she'd been lying to my face all this time. And Daniel, my own blood, my best man, someone I'd confided in, shared secrets with. How could he do this to me? It was like my entire world was crumbling and I didn't even see it coming. I was so stunned I couldn't even think straight. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I needed a plan. The shock was overwhelming. Everything about my future, my marriage, my family, suddenly felt like a lie. The next day I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I knew I had to confront Jessica, but I also wanted to be strategic. I wasn't just angry, I was hurt, betrayed, and confused beyond words. I decided to wait until she was at work, giving myself some time to gather my thoughts and calm down, but the anger was already bubbling up inside me. I couldn't believe I was about to have this fight, but I knew I had no choice. When she came home that afternoon, I was sitting in the living room, pretending to be calm while my mind raced. She walked in, all confident, all bitchy smirk, pretending she hadn't been caught. She looked at me like I was some kind of idiot, like I wasn't about to rip her world apart. I didn't waste time. I pulled up the messages on my phone and threw it in her face. "Jessica, what the hell is this?" I asked, voice trembling but firm. Her eyes widened for a second, then she straightened up and looked at me like I was the biggest idiot in the world. "What are you talking about, Mike? That's none of your business." She tried to brush it off, but I wasn't having it. I told her I saw her sexting Daniel, my own cousin, and that I knew she'd been lying to me all along. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and said, "Oh, please, you're overreacting. That's just stupid flirtation, nothing serious. You don't even know what you're talking about." Her voice was sharp, like she was trying to dismiss everything, like I was crazy for even suspecting her. But I wasn't about to back down. I told her I knew about the secret sex, the late-night meetings, everything. That's when she got defensive, started calling me paranoid, jealous, insecure. She spat back, "You think I have time for some stupid affair? You're making this up because you're insecure. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't need to look elsewhere." That one hurt. Her words cut deeper than I expected. I was already feeling like a fool, and now she was calling me boring, unworthy. I felt my fists clench, but I kept my voice steady. Jessica, I saw your messages. I saw the photos. I saw what you've been doing with Daniel. How could you lie to me? How could you do this on the eve of our wedding? She laughed, that fake, bitchy laugh she always throws out when she's trying to play the victim. Oh, so now it's my fault. You're just jealous because Daniel is better in bed than you. Maybe I was bored with your boring ass and he was just more exciting. Sorry if I'm not some perfect little wife for you, but I don't owe you explanations for my life. I was stunned. I couldn't believe how she was spinning this, how she was turning everything around. It was like she was trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I told her I was done, that I couldn't be with her anymore if she was going to lie and cheat. She kept denying everything, crying fake tears, saying I was misinterpreting things, that I was just insecure. But I knew better. I knew the truth. Her actions had spoken loud enough. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Daniel, saw the lies, the betrayal. I felt the weight of the world crashing down on me. I didn't know what to do, whether to fight for her, to forgive her, or just walk away. I was devastated, but part of me was also furious. Furious at her, furious at Daniel, furious at myself for not seeing it sooner. I kept asking, how did I get here? How did everything fall apart so fast? I never thought I'd be one of those guys who got cheated on, especially not by the girl I was about to marry, and not by my own cousin. But here I was, broken, betrayed, and wondering how to even pick up the pieces. The days that followed were the worst of my life. I felt like I was walking around in a daze, caught between disbelief and rage. Every time I saw Jessica, I could see the fake smile, the way she played innocent, like she hadn't just shattered everything we ever planned. She kept insisting it was just a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to get so out of hand. Yeah, she said all the right things, the apologies, the tears, the "I love you, I swear." But I didn't believe her anymore. Not after what I found out about Daniel's secret. Baby, turns out Jessica had been lying about that too. She told me she was not ready to tell me about the kid, that Daniel wanted nothing to do with it, and that she was just trying to keep it from messing up our wedding. But I dug deeper. I remembered seeing a receipt, a hospital bill in her purse, addressed to Daniel's name with a date from 2 years ago. I looked up the name, and it was for a boy named Lucas. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach a second time. My own cousin had a secret kid, and she'd kept that from me for years. I confronted her again, demanding the truth. She broke down crying, finally admitting it. She said she was scared, that Daniel made her keep it a secret, and that she never told anyone. She tried to justify it, saying she didn't want to ruin everything, that she was only with Daniel for the sex, and that she never loved him. But I could see through her lies now. She lied to me about everything, about her feelings, about the affair, about the kid. She'd been sneaking around behind my back for months, maybe even years. Honestly, I don't even know how I held it together. I was furious, devastated, feeling like I'd been played for a fool from the beginning. I started questioning everything. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all the signs? I was supposed to marry her, make a life with her, and she was out there cheating on me with my own cousin and hiding a kid from me. That's when I decided enough was enough. I wasn't going to be a cuckold. I wanted revenge. I started planning. I needed to make her feel as betrayed as I did, maybe more. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I certainly couldn't stay with her after all this. I wanted her to suffer just a little, to feel the pain of her lies and betrayal. And I wasn't going to do it quietly. No, I wanted her to understand what she'd lost: me, my trust, my respect. I spent nights researching, watching her every move, looking for the right way to strike back. I kept telling myself I deserved better, that I'd be better off without her, but the hurt still lingered deep inside, so I made my move. I didn't tell her I knew everything, not yet. Instead, I started planting little things, evidence that would blow her world apart. I reached out to Daniel, the cousin I'd always trusted, and told him I knew about the baby, the affair, everything. He was furious and ashamed, but I told him I wanted to hear the truth from him directly. I wanted to see how far I could push, how much I could expose her lies. I also got a few photos of Jessica and Daniel together, Nothing explicit, just enough to make her realize I was serious. I wanted her to know I had proof. When I finally scheduled the confrontation, I was so full of rage I could hardly contain myself. I planned to do it in front of both of them, to make it clear I wasn't going to be played anymore. I was ready to make my final stand, to show her that I wasn't some fool who'd accept her lies and cheating. All the pain, all the anger, it was boiling inside me, ready to explode. I knew whatever came next would change everything forever. I just didn't know how much more I could take before I broke completely. The confrontation day finally arrived and I was a wreck. My stomach was tight, my hands trembling as I waited in the living room, phone in hand, ready to drop the bomb. Jessica walked in, all faux innocence, acting like she had no idea what was coming. She was trying to act normal, but I saw the flicker of nervousness in her eyes. She knew I had the goods. I didn't waste any time. I pulled out the photos, the messages, the hospital bill, everything I had collected over the past few days. "Jessica," I said, voice cold and steady, "I know about the affair. I know about Daniel. I know about Lucas. I know everything." Her face paled instantly, and for a second she looked like she was going to deny everything. But I cut her off before she could even speak. "Don't bother lying anymore," I told her. "I've seen the proof. You've been cheating on me with my own cousin for years. You lied about everything, about the sex, about the kid, about your feelings. How could you do this? How could you betray me like this right before our wedding?" Her fake tears started flowing, but I wasn't buying it. She was crying for herself, for her own ass being exposed, not for what she'd done. She kept insisting, "Mike, you don't understand. I was confused. It was just sex. It didn't mean anything. Daniel and I, we were just caught up in the moment. I never loved him. It's not what you think." Her words were hollow, rehearsed, empty excuses. I stared at her, jaw clenched, feeling like my entire world was crumbling. I told her she was a liar, a cheat, a manipulator. I told her I never wanted to see her again, that she destroyed what little trust I had left. She kept pleading, trying to spin her lies, but I cut her off again. I told her if she thought she could lie her way out of this, she was dead wrong, that I was done. Then I turned to Daniel, who was just standing there, silent, looking ashamed and panicked. I told him I knew about his secret kid, that I knew he'd been hiding Lucas for years, that I knew he'd betrayed his family, his blood. That was the moment I saw the guilt hit him hard. He tried to say something, but I didn't want excuses. I told him he had to choose, be a man and face what he's done, or keep running and lose everything. Jessica was still crying, still trying to deny everything, but I saw the cracks in her facade. She was trembling, eyes darting around, realizing the game was over. I couldn't believe how much I'd been played, how much I'd trusted her, and how she'd thrown it all away for some stupid sex, some fleeting thrill. That moment was the turning point. I was furious, but I knew I needed to act. I told her she was out, that I wanted her gone that very night. No more lies, no more pretending. She begged, of course. Said she loved me, that she'd change, that she'd do anything to fix this. But I didn't buy it. I'd seen enough. I told her she made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. The shock, the betrayal, the lies, they all hit her like a freight train. She left in tears, cursing, screaming, trying to hold on to whatever little dignity she had left. Daniel stayed quiet, staring at the ground, knowing he'd lost everything too. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me wanted to lash out, part of me wanted to break down, but I held it together. That night, I sat alone in the empty apartment, the weight of everything pressing down on me. I kept replaying the events, trying to process how someone I loved, trusted, and considered family could do this. I felt like I'd lost not just my fiancé and cousin, but a part of myself. The pain was intense, anger, sadness, betrayal. But deep down, I knew I had to move on. No matter how much it hurt, I couldn't stay and be part of that tangled web of lies. I had to find a way to rebuild somehow, even if it felt impossible right now. The days after the confrontation were the hardest I've ever lived through. I'd made my decision to cut her out, to move forward, but the emotional fallout was brutal. Every time I thought about Jessica and Daniel, I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so trusting, only to get betrayed by the people I cared about most. The guilt and anger fought inside me, but I knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let this defeat me, even if I wanted to crawl into a hole and hide. I started packing up her things, clothes, jewelry, everything that reminded me of the life we were supposed to have. I didn't want her stuff in my place anymore. It felt like shedding the last remnants of a nightmare. As I was packing, I found a few more things that confirmed just how deep her lies went: texts to other guys, flirtatious messages, even some pictures that I hadn't seen before. It was like peeling back layers of a rotten onion. Every new piece of evidence made me more sure I was better off without her. I also reached out to some friends for support. I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts, especially with the pain and anger threatening to take over. A couple of my buddies listened, told me I did the right thing, and reminded me I deserved better. Still, that does make it easier. I felt hollow, betrayed, and like I'd lost part of my dignity. How could she do this to me? How could my own cousin, someone I trusted with my life, turn into the enemy? One thing I knew for sure: I needed closure. So I reached out to Daniel. I arranged to meet him face to face just to hear his side. I wanted to look him in the eyes and see if he felt guilty, if he understood what he'd done. When we met up at a quiet cafe, the silence was thick. I didn't waste time beating around the bush. I told him I knew about the kid, that I knew about the affair, and that I was done pretending everything was fine. He looked ashamed, like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. He admitted he'd made mistakes, that he loved his son Lucas more than anything, but that he was sorry for the pain he caused me. Hearing him say that didn't make it better, but it made me realize that at least he wasn't some heartless monster. He was just a guy who made terrible choices, same as Jessica. I told him I didn't want anything to do with them anymore, that I was walking away for good. That was the last time I saw him. I wanted to cut ties completely. I knew I had to focus on my own healing now, even if it felt impossible. In the end, I decided to file for divorce. It was the only way to sever the ties, to truly start over. The process was brutal: paperwork, lawyers, emotional exhaustion, but I knew it was necessary. I didn't want to be in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I wanted to rebuild my life, my trust in myself, and eventually my trust in someone new. I vowed to never let anyone hurt me like that again. Looking back, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me forever. I've learned how fragile trust is, how quickly someone can turn into a stranger, and how important it is to listen to your gut. I've also learned that revenge isn't always about doing something destructive, but about taking control of your own life after someone tries to destroy it. I'm not fully healed yet, but I know I'll get there. I've got scars now, but I refuse to let them define me. That's the biggest lesson: even in betrayal, you find a way to survive. The whole experience has left a permanent mark on me, but I've come to realize something crucial: I'm stronger than I thought. Betrayal like that, it can crush you if you let it. But I refuse to let it define me. I've taken the lessons, the heartbreak, and the anger, and I've used them to rebuild. It took time, months, honestly, of feeling broken, of questioning everything and everyone. But slowly, I started piecing myself back together. One thing that finally helped was cutting out all the noise. No more Jessica, no more Daniel, no more constant reminders of the lies. I blocked her on everything, changed my number, and focused on myself. I took up new hobbies, started going to the gym again, reconnected with friends I'd neglected. I realized that I was worth more than someone who would cheat, lie, and manipulate me. Trust, I learned, is something you earn, and I'll never make that mistake again. Looking back, I wish I'd seen some of the signs sooner, but I also know I shouldn't blame myself entirely. People hide their true selves well, and sometimes you only see the truth when it's too late. I want to say to anyone reading this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting honesty. When someone betrays you, it's not just about the affair or the secret kid. It's about the respect and trust that was broken. Once that's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. I've learned that revenge, in its own way, is about reclaiming your power. I didn't lash out or try to ruin their lives. I just took my power back by walking away, by choosing myself over their lies. That's what ultimately set me free. I'm finally starting to heal piece by piece. I still get angry sometimes, and I won't pretend I'm completely over it. but I know I'm better off without Jessica and Daniel dragging me down. If there's one thing I want anyone in a similar situation to understand, it's this. Don't stay in a relationship where the trust is shattered. No matter how much you love someone, no matter how much history you have, betrayal cuts too deep. Sometimes the greatest act of love you can do for yourself is to walk away and start over. That's what I'm doing now. I'm moving forward stronger, wiser, and a little more cautious. But I'm also hope that someday I'll find someone who genuinely respects me, who I can trust again. And maybe, just maybe, I'll look back at this horrible chapter as the moment I finally took control of my life. Because if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that no betrayal can ruin you unless you let it. You gotta pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and prove to the world and yourself that you're still standing. That's what I've done. That's what I'll keep doing.